From the School Choice Now newsroom at the American Federation for Children, I'm Brian Jodas. You can follow me on X at AFC President, joined by Senator Eric Schmitt from the great state of Missouri. Senator Schmitt sits on multiple committees, including Armed Services, Commerce, Science, Transportation, and Judiciary. Today, our conversation, though, about education, school choice, and empowering more parents, families, and students across America. So, Senator Schmitt, it's great to have you today. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to be with you.
I'm told we're helping you break in this new sort of podcast, virtual kind of studio you've got going here.
Look at this. We got
amazing
the Missouri football Tigers. We got the Cardinals. We got fighter jets and state seals. We're ready to roll. We're happy to be with you.
Count ourselves fortunate. Looks good. You sound great. So that's exciting. Before we talk about this national push for school choice, I know you've been really supportive of the ESA program in Missouri when you were the treasurer, also as Attorney General. Really helped fight against a ballot initiative to try to take that program down. So thanks for that fight. And just why so important to do that for families in Missouri?
Well, I mean, for me, it's always been an issue of just providing more options for families, right? And they can make these decisions. They know best for themselves and what's good for their kids, to maybe pursue a different educational path or honestly, even some individualized plans for kids with special needs. There could be different options for them. And really, it's just kind of opening up that portfolio of options for families. That's been at the heart, I think, of the movement for a very long time. It's certainly something that resonates with me. I grew up in a working class family. And so education really was, I was the first person in my family to go to college out of high school. So getting a good education and pursuing it in your dreams is an important thing. It's part of the American dream. So you shouldn't be limited to the school that your zip code assigns you to. You should have more options than that. And so for a long time, Missouri is a pretty red state, or is a red state. But educational choice and school choice was somewhat elusive, honestly. And I think this has played out in some other states too, as the laboratories for democracy. And so finally, there was a breakthrough when I was state treasurer, that ESA, the education savings accounts, were housed with the treasurer's office. I think they trusted me. It seemed like a logical place for that program to reside, and they've done a great job with it. And then we, of course, would defend any of that stuff when I was Attorney General. And now, here in the U.S. Senate, I think we can go even bigger than that. So it's a nice segue, I guess, to what's happening here nationally.
Yeah, it's
following me. It's this issue. I'm leading it or following it, whatever it is. But I'm proud to be a part of it.
Well, it speaks to the groundswell, right? Just support from the states, and that's the beauty of the way in which this has bubbled up. And even President Trump talks about sending education back to the states, which you're a supporter of as well. In fact, you recently co-authored a piece for the Washington Examiner with Senator Jim Banks titled "Let's Bring Universal School Choice to the Finish Line." We'll discuss that in a moment. You touched on it, but just that journey for you for education, right? To be your first to go to college from high school. Tell me just a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I went to DeSmet High School as a Catholic high school in St. Louis County. I like to say the Jesuits redirected my energy, and I became a much better student. So that was a very positive experience for me. And there's a lot in the St. Louis area where I'm from, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of parochial private schools, there's great public schools. There's a lot of options for people. And I just always felt like that was where families should be able to make those decisions. And increasingly, that can be a difficult financial decision. It always sort of has been. My dad worked 7 days a week in the midnight shift to provide some of those opportunities for me and my sisters. But it shouldn't be as difficult as it is oftentimes for families that are lower on the economic ladder there to have that world-class kind of education. There's a lot of failing school districts that students shouldn't be trapped in. And I think this is part of the reform movement. I think you could liken it to a civil rights kind of movement for a lot of kids that, again, particularly, poor Black kids in St. Louis City have been denied a lot of opportunities for a long time. And just to say they should pick up and move, like a lot of Democrats say, that's just easier said than done. You shouldn't have to do that if you like the neighborhood you're in, but the school district isn't providing for what you need. You should be able to choose another option. And so that's really what this whole thing is about. It's just allowing individuals to make these decisions that work for them. And it might mean the public school down the road. It might mean a Catholic school a little bit further away. It might mean a non-denominational school somewhere else. It might mean a charter school. But either way, part of, I think, what makes America great is that we are allowed to sort of find our own path in an individual way. And to me, that's, again, the heart of the movement here.
And it could mean different school options for different kids in the same household.
Yes.
It's about empowering families to find that an individualized learning environment that best meets the needs of that specific child. I'm with Senator Eric Schmitt from Missouri. Your recent piece, Let's Bring Universal School Choice to the Finish Line. And in it, you write, universal school choice is one of many campaign promises that helped propel President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance to victory last year. The status quo in public education system in which children's schools are defined solely by their zip code is broken. Adding, with unified control of Washington for the first time in nearly a decade, Republicans are preparing to deliver on their promise to families to incorporate the Educational Choice for Children Act, which we co-sponsored in the Senate, into Trump's reconciliation package. Passing the ECCA will help make school choice a reality for many more children across the country. We've talked about it a little bit, but what a beautiful way to rally support. But why be so involved in this, and why write that?
Well, I think that, part of the job that you have when you're a United States senator is to give voice to people who don't have a voice, right? And a lot of the families that would like to avail themselves to this option, they don't have that platform. And so I think, you do a few things. You sponsor legislation, you talk about it, you do things like this where you're communicating directly with people, and make the case. And part of this is advocacy and trying to get more people on board to support it, whether it's attaching it to other things that are moving in the legislative process or as a standalone bill, whatever that is. I think you got to be willing to stand up, make the case, make the argument, try to convince people. And that's what that op-ed's all about. Senator Banks is a friend, actually similar kind of background as I have. And I think we know what it means for families to have, more opportunities. And that's why we're advocating for it so zealously.
I love the closing argument that you make. It's time to make school choice the option of every family in America, regardless of their zip code or which party governs their state. And that last part's really important, Senator, because this will bring school choice to all 50 states in America, and it will allow families to get access to it, even in the states that won't even pass the most modest of school choice programs.
Yeah, and that's what's really exciting about what's happening right now. This is a sort of a new frontier. A lot of Republicans, and by the way, it used to be some Democrats, a lot of sort of urban Democrats would talk about this issue. They've been kind of pushed off to the side by a lot of the powers that be. I think, the teachers unions, they don't want to hear that anymore. It's a lot about job security for them and less to do with the parents. And really what you've seen is a growth of the administrators in public schools, and they're the ones that fight hard against this. And I just think this kind of competition, more options, is going to make everybody better. A great glimpse in time would be during COVID. You talk about red state or blue state or whatever, but how about maybe a school that didn't force 5-year-olds to wear masks all day long? There might have been a lot of parents that would have exited a system that was forcing their kids to do that all day long as opposed to learning, or schools that were locked down completely. There might have been another option, a charter school down the road that was open, as opposed to what was a really failed strategy that there's loss of learning for some of these kids. It's just never going to be made up. And these decisions by these really selfish adults put them in that position. So again, you could play this out, whether it's, whatever options you were looking for. This bill, this federal legislation, provides more of those kinds of opportunities for people.
I'll tell you what, we do have an opportunity while I have you. We can do a bipartisan shout out. Marlene Terry, state representative from your home state, Democrat, recently stood up on the floor of the state legislature, having been kicked off of her committees for supporting school choice, and gave a passionate plea for supporting families. So I think she deserves a tip of the cap with the time.
Absolutely. And this is a kind of movement that, everybody's welcome, because it's really about, again, these kids. And, I served in the Missouri Senate before I was in statewide office, and then here. And you would have some really interesting coalitions. You'd have a lot of Black urban Democrats with more white suburban Republicans that were really united on this. And then there would be other Republicans from across the state that would be supportive from an ideological perspective. But even if it was just sort of providing opportunities in a specific area, a lot of the left just came out. They didn't want to have the camel nose under the tent, as they would refer to it. And I think part of that is because they know it would work, and it sort of disrupts the monopoly that some of these folks have had for a long time, and it just really hurt, I think, the educational opportunities for kids. So this is now, I think you're seeing a lot of the work that you guys are doing and other groups. You've seen really kind of a breakthrough in the states now, and I think we're about ready to break through on the federal side, and that's really encouraging.
100%. He's Senator Eric Schmitt from the great state of Missouri. There is that pathway to break through, bust through the dam, supercharge school choice across America. And we'll be watching it very closely as DC continues to work diligently to make sure we get this thing done. The president wants it done. The American people want it done. We know you do as well, too. So, sir, it's been great to have you on today. Let's do it again sometime.
Let's get it done. We'll be with you again sometime soon. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. As always, like and share this episode. Send it to your friends. It really does help us get this important message out there and get more people to see it. Give me a follow on X at AFC Press, and we'll see you next time from the American Federation for Children newsroom.